Well, look who came back for a holiday video just in time. Spoiler alert, it's me. I was the one who came back. So actually this video was supposed to come out last month, but well, life happened, so here we are. I guess it's a Christmas special, huh? Now starting off the build, I'll make Red Luigi's big cylindrical head. I then proceed to show off this amazing feat of engineering for way too long. Now this was actually supposed to be Mr. L's head shape, but it kind of reminded me of a Metroid and it gave me an idea to maybe do that video later. Of course, I continue to outline the head shape that I want his head to be in, but I'm not entirely sure how this is going to look finished, so hey, you never know until you try. And now that we've outlined the head shapes, it's time to fill them in. And so that finishes Mayron's head shape, and I'll actually show you later on why that bottom piece doesn't necessarily matter to us. I bet you didn't even know I used a cut there. That was just so smooth, I just had to share that. Also, I filled in the goat's head shape, but I don't really know why I'm spinning it around so much. It's just a shape, you know. Also, this is where I believe I started tinkering with the lighting, so forgive me if the video looks a little odd with certain lighting setups. Now it's time to add to the silliness factor of the build. First up being the nose, or it kind of actually looks like a big zit, but you know. Green Stash's nose was also added into this process as well, so if you expect me to do one thing on one brother, it most likely happened on the other as well. And like the Spider-Man quote said, with great big noses comes great big ears. Now it's time for the eyes, and if you know anything about me, you know that I hate doing eyes, so let's get into it. Now we'll start with this basic oval shape as the base, and then we'll continue to add more to it in order to make the eyes. After that, I made the pupils, and while they did come out alright, I think the end product make the eyes look a little bit soulless, but you know, that's just me. And look at that, after I finally grafted those eyes to the face, I think we're actually starting to have a face come together. Just like they taught you in math, what you do to the left, you do to the right, and you know I had to get my boy right on the right. Now here's where we start getting to the silly part of the build, and this actually brought about a pretty unexpected cursed revelation. Now I actually didn't know how I wanted to make the hair, so I went through several reiterations of this little hair type here, but I think it came out alright in the end, and it doesn't look too bad. And this is where the cursed part of the project really started to show. Like, you know how many hours I had to watch that bald head as I was working on it? Like, it was rough. It was rough, so I guess this is my point in the video. Like and subscribe if you like what you're seeing, you know, if you like what you're hearing, and let's get back into it. Now working on the back of the head here, it was actually very difficult to, get in between there and make it look good. But I think it did actually turn out very well when it was fully completed. And since I'm so faithfully accurate to the source material, I gave him 4 little doohickeys in the back, just like all his art portrays him as. Anyways, we finished the outline of the hair, and I guess I'll show you some of the process that goes into, making these dudes. Which is to say, a whole lot of nothing. Of course, I similarly outlined the hair over here, and I really liked how this turned out actually. It looks very nice when it's fully completed. Anyways, I'll go ahead and speed up some of this footage of me making the hair, and spoiler alert, it moves a lot. And that's how you make hair. Now repeat this step until you've created male pattern baldness on them, and there you have it. You've made hair. Seems like they finally found an enemy they couldn't use mushrooms and fire flowers on, huh? Anyways, it's finally time to actually start making what they're famous for, which is that green and red hat of theirs. I think I'll also be changing around the camera angle here, so be warned for that jump scare too. Now if the brothers didn't actually already show their hair before, there's a non-zero chance that this could have actually been what was underneath their hat, so who knows, maybe it's like an alternate timeline or something. Oh yeah, I also made the brim here too. And after quickly outlining what I need to do, I'll go ahead and tweak the finer details because we really don't want things falling apart as we work on them. Like, that would actually be kind of embarrassing and also kind of annoying too, so keep that in mind. Of course, I do the same thing over here, like the exact same process, but for some reason I feel like when I did it over here, it just came out so much better. Like, it was more cleaner, it looked better, it was easier to do. I don't know, maybe I just grew that much. And I'm still over here outlining what I need to do in order to make the cap look good, so just enjoy this quick montage of me making the caps on both of them, and yeah, I'll see you in a few seconds. With that done, we can start moving on to the nitty-gritty details, the first actually being this little logo or sign here. Now, it was actually very hard for me to make this look like an M since I was working on such a small scale, but I think it turned out alright in the end. There were a few things I could have done differently to make it look better, but in the end, it still looks like his logo. Now we've just about completed the face, which leaves only one thing left, and it's arguably the most important feature of his face, which is of course the mustache. Because yeah, otherwise he'd look pretty cursed. So we'll start the legendary stashes like we do anything else, which is to say we'll outline it. And just a few seconds later, I was super proud of the mustache that we have built. Like, already this looks so good and we haven't even filled it in. This is nightmare fuel right here. I have actually created accidental nightmare fuel. Oh my goodness. I like the nice and feathery look that this has, but later on it won't really work, so dang. And that's our first brown croissant done. So once we slap that onto the face, we can just go ahead and move on to our next buddy here. And after finishing making the faces, we crossed the 8-minute section of the video. And I remember making some of those earlier videos just barely struggling to get to 8 minutes. But I think on this one I made a bit too much video. Yikes. Nevertheless, we had ourselves a jam party here, and we moved on to making the body. To start here, we're actually going to give Mr. Tomato a very big, juicy, and plumpy body. Now the main reason I separate the upper torso from the lower torso is because I can reduce the amount of work I need to do, since the lower torso is actually going to get covered. Now while the body looks a little small right now, trust me, it'll come back later and it'll actually be fine. So sometimes you just have to trust in the process. So I did the same to the rotund red meatball, and now that both of them are primed with their shirts, they are actually ready to put on their big boy overalls. I know you may not be seeing exactly what's going on, but just know that I covered the rest of his body with like blue pipe cleaners. So that was it. I also made the rest of the outline as to where I would put the remaining pieces of the overalls. And if you notice, I actually have more than enough red on there. So, I mean, I guess it's better to have and not need than need and not have, huh? Same thing here, except I'm kind of showing you how I'm filling it out. But other than that, that's the overalls almost done. We're not done yet, but that's basically them done, and now we can just move on to like the arms and legs. Now I originally wanted them to stand up, but they would just keep on falling down, so hey, compromises had to be built. Now as for poses, I kind of wanted them to look relaxed, so as for this one, I made 2 legs, but actually made one bigger than the other one. Now the angle was actually kind of hard to get right here, but once I found it out, I was ready to start filling it in. And now with the simple legs finished, we were able to start working and finishing the upper half of the body. After making some failed attempts at arms, this was ultimately the ones I decided to use for this buddy here. And as you can see, we have ourselves here a chill dude. You know, he's just relaxing, taking the day off. And honestly, I wish I could take a day off too. Nevertheless, we have finally completed the arms and they came along quite nicely. So there's only one thing left for us to do: the hands and the feet. Oh yeah, and put the buttons on the overalls. Why didn't I do that earlier? Now looking back on the outline of these shoes and just the shoes in general, they do look kind of silly, so I think that might be the only thing I could have changed if I was able to. But you know, hey, we'll just move on. I slowly start to fill in the shoes, and yeah, the more and more I look at it, the more and more I loathe it. One odd shoe done and 3 more to go. And this actually took me a little bit longer than I care to admit, so let's just move on. I wasn't entirely sure how I wanted to make the hands, but I knew that I wanted to start off with the palm first, so I could have a base. After making the snowball blob, I was able to also add the flower fingers and make it actually turn into a glove. Everybody's gloves turned out alright, but the problem was that it took me an extremely long time to fill these out, more than you would think actually. And finally, I remembered to add the buttons to the overalls, which are actually pretty easy. It's just like a yellow oval. That's it. And with that, we have finally finished our design. So let's go ahead, get our last shots, and get our last minute of yapping in, and that'll be the end of the video. And so that concludes the end of this massive video. Well, it's not really massive, but it is for my standards. Anyway, I just want to go ahead and talk here for a little minute. Thank you so much for watching the video to the end, you know? And as far as the future goes, I'm actually hoping to implement some of my own creations into the channel too. So we'll have like some original characters and then like some game characters as well. So we kind of get the best of both worlds, you know? But other than that, there's not really much else for me to really say except thank you so much for watching, you know? Thank you for giving my channel a chance, and I hope to see you again in the future sometime. So without further ado, I guess I'll see you later.